She's here.
My father died when I was 12. My mother stays in the country. Lord and Lady Swinstead opened their London home to me. But indeed, they arranged my season last year.
Give me your gloves. Oh, Mrs. Hudson, what do you think you're doing?
You haven't been out this morning, Mr. Holmes. And you don't have to be a detective to see that this young lady is recently up from a sickbed. Isn't that so, my dear? You must put some roses back in those cheeks.
Thank you.
The broth is an excellent idea.
Mrs. Hudson, will you vanish? I said vanish.
He was my first love. The son of some neighbors of ours in Suffolk. But we were ill-matched. He had few prospects. When I came down to London last year for the season, I broke off with him. I didn't realize how much I hurt him. He returned my letters, and I put them away in a trunk, which I keep with me.
Now, the substance of these letters.
Just a little foolish.
But sufficient to cause your fiancé misgivings.
Harry's so proud of me. It frightens me sometimes that I cannot live up to his expectation of me.
It was your maid who found these letters?
Lily, yes. I trusted her. I cannot believe she could have betrayed me like this.
How would this Lily know about Milverton?
I think the idea may have come to her through a misfortune that befell a friend of mine, Charlotte, who was to have married a Colonel Dorking. Mr. Milverton sent her some letters. They were very distressing. Lily and I were there when she received them. To think the same fate has befallen me.
It will be all right, Lady Eva.
What can you do? My marriage is on the 18th. He's demanding that the money be paid to him 4 days prior to the wedding on the 14th, on the day of the dance.
Dance?
Lord Dovercourt has arranged a wedding feast and invited half of London. I'm dreading it.
Now, if you will place yourself in my hands, I will inform Mr. Milverton that you've commissioned me to meet him to make the best terms that I can, huh?
I have limited resources, Mr. Holmes.
But enough for me to bargain with him, and I cannot approach him empty-handed. Good, good.
Thank you.
My felicitations to your godmother.
Lady Eva, you must trust Mr. Holmes and his methods, absolutely.
Mrs. Hudson will see what?
That young lady, Holmes, must be treated with infinite care, unlike your other recent escapade.
Ah, Watson, it took some nerve for her to come here alone. It is my belief that Lady Eva and the Milverton housemaid have something in common.
And what is that?
Juice. Watson, juice. In the face of adversity. Now, Mr. Milverton.
Eva? 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 Lottie. I am so glad to see you. Paris wasn't the answer.
You've been hard to find. What are you doing?
I fell asleep.
Johnson told me about your Uncle Charles. I'm so sorry.
I stayed here to comfort Diana, but this house is so sad.
We'll call again at 6:30 CAM.
You ready?
Yes.
Mr. Sherlock Holmes. This gentleman, is it discreet?
Dr. Watson is my friend and partner.
It is purely in the interests of your client that I protested. The matter is so very delicate.
Dr. Watson has already heard of it. No?
Oh, thank you. Then we may proceed to business. You said in your note that you are acting for the Lady Eva. Are you empowered to accept my terms?
What are your terms?
£7,000.
And the alternative?
My dear sir, it is painful for me to discuss it, but I can say that all this is done with the most careful consideration. And if the money is not paid on the 14th, then there will certainly be no marriage on the 18th.
We are, of course, familiar with the contents of these letters. We shall advise our client to tell her future husband the whole story and trust to his generosity.
Then you evidently do not know the Earl.
What harm is there in these letters?
Sprightly. Very sprightly. The lady was a charming correspondent. But I assure you the Earl of Dovercourt will fail to appreciate them. However, if you think otherwise, it's purely a matter of business. If you think it in the best interests of your client, then it would indeed be foolish to pay so large a sum of money.
You go too fast. We would certainly make every effort to avoid scandal in so delicate a matter.
I felt sure you would see it in that light.
Damn you! Lady Eva is not a wealthy woman. £2,000 would be a total drain on her resources. The sum you name, utterly beyond her power. Return the letters at the price we indicate, I assure you. It is the highest you can get.
What you say may be true of the lady's resources, but surely the occasion of her marriage. Is that not a proper time for her friends and relations to make some little effort on her behalf? They may hesitate as to an acceptable wedding present. But this little bundle of letters would bring more joy than all the candelabra and butter dishes in London, wouldn't it?
It's not possible.
It is not possible.
Ah, dear me, then. How very unfortunate. I cannot help feeling that ladies are ill-advised in not making an effort. Look at this. This belongs to... Well, perhaps it's hardly fair to tell you to whom it belongs until tomorrow morning, when it'll be in the hands of the lady's husband. And all because she will not find a beggarly sum, which she could easily do, simply by turning some of her diamonds into paste. It is such a pity. You may have noticed a small paragraph recently in the Morning Post. The sudden end of the engagement between the Honourable Miss Miles and Colonel Dorkin.
Yes, and its tragic consequences.
That was tantamount to murder.
How do you answer for that, Mr. Milverton?
How a man conducts himself under such circumstances is a matter for himself alone.
That is a monstrous assertion. It was you, and you alone, who caused his death.
And the sum involved, niggardly.
Indeed, a mere £1,200 would have settled the whole question. It's pitiful, isn't it? And yet here I find you, Mr. Holmes, a man of sense, boggling at terms, when the whole future and honor of your client is at stake. You surprise me, you do, really.
The money cannot be found.
Surely it would be better for you to take the substantial sum we offer than to ruin this young woman's career, which can profit you in no way.
There you're mistaken. An exposure would profit me indirectly to a considerable degree. I have 8 or 10 similar cases maturing. If it is circulated that I've made a severe example of Lady Eva, I shall find the rest much more open to reason. Do you see my point?
To see the contents of those letters.
Mr. Holmes, I've been expecting you to do something original. And this has been tried so often before.
Young Edward Croft, for one.
Croft?
The footman, Vike, who took the bullet that was rightfully yours.
You've done some work on me. So you must know that nothing ever came of an attack on my person. I'm armed to the teeth at all times. And I'm perfectly prepared to use my weapons knowing that the law will support me.
You may well have your chance to test your assumption.
You can't see I'm so sorry, but you will have to wait.
Mrs. Hudson, I'm not to be disturbed.